Thank you very much for joining us today, Laurent MONTADOR, Deputy CEO of ArundoRe. We're going to talk about a little bit the impact of natural catastrophes. But first, can you start by telling us a bit about ArundoRe? I believe the name changed recently. Why is that? And tell me something about the lines of business that you cover.
Okay, yeah, so ArundoRe is the new brand. Before we were named CCRE. CCRE was created in 2016, 2017, and it was a spin-off of an activity of international insurance inside CCR, state-owned, French state-owned reinsurance company, mainly dealing with a part international reinsurance, dealing with Nat Cat system in France, and also terrorism in France, with the state guarantee as a reinsurer in order to limit the probability of ruin of the different insurance companies in France for those risks. ArundoRe, I would say the name was done in mid-January. It was well received by our customers, by our brokers and clients, as well as also internally. We have the name Arundo means reed in Latin, and so effectively it's from the de La Fontaine fable. I don't know exactly the name in English, but you will translate it properly. And it's the oak and the reed from de La Fontaine, where with large winds, the reed is flexible and so can cope with the larger events and is resilient. So it's this type of picture that we wanted to put in front of our brand name, and with also some values, I would say, some values in terms of company brand name. So humanity, I say that, humanity, solidity, clarity, and vitality. It's those four values that I should remember every time.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about natural or national catastrophes. You mentioned terrorism, but I know there's other issues around global warming and so on. Can you tell me how you see the global trend when it comes to natural catastrophes? What's impacting it, and what can the insurance sector do to help mitigate some of the risk?
Yes, it's clearly climate change is really a topic for all the reinsurers, and also mainly for the insurers as well. We clearly see a general increase in frequency and severity. It's totally normal because of the climate change and it's not only one peril, but it means several perils. You have a lot of correlations with what is involved in the atmosphere and what also is involved with temperature of the sea in different regions. And so which has a probability impact on how the hurricanes are created, and what are the trends of trajectories of hurricane as well. So this evolves, and so past statistics only could not replicate what is going on in the future.
This leads on very much. I wanted to ask about modeling and what sort of impact you see these changing trends having on modeling. So, for example, floods in France versus floods in Germany. And what sort of role is there for actuaries when it comes to this sort of modeling?
Yeah. Uh, so it's really changes of climate are considered more and more in the model vendors of NatCat softwares, I would say. Um, we are helped in order to change the probability in the different events listed in the catalog of those vendor models. So that's the first thing. And we can, for example, simulate with a scenario RCP 8.5 the new norm in 2050, for example. So that is something that we do in order to add a kind of security measures to implement in our pricing that we ask for our clients. It is also something that is required by regulators more and more, and also by rating agencies. So the model vendors are really helpful and more involved in those changes in their models to take climate change into consideration. What we see is it is very important to have several models and not be reliant only in one. So we have a multi-model approach, and we try in ArundoRe to have open model system. We are now a newly member of Oasis, for example. We also are client of the large vendor models like RMS and Verisk, like Moody's, sorry, and Verisk. But it's very important to have your own knowledge in-house and not being reliant only into vendor models without having the capabilities and the expertise itself. So we have also hired people that have PhDs in different type of risk, including meteorology and climatology, and that's very important. How I see the future of modeling, it's instead of having one zone with one peril modeled, it's more and more global modeling with the atmosphere evolution and taking into account many perils that are correlated between themselves due to the different movement of the circular atmosphere. I mean, flood is very important, but you can have different type of flood. You also have hurricane that are producing flood and not only wind losses. And for example, last year in 2024, in Canada, there has been a flood in the Montreal region with Hurricane Debby. And so it was not due to the wind, but it was due to the flood and the flooding from a wetter and wetter hurricane. And I think,
yeah.
Sorry?
So I wanted to go on to that because we've got obviously a little bit of a different situation in Europe. We tend not to think about hurricanes, but yet we have a lot of this, as you say, global knock on climate change. And I wanted to ask you about Asia, because I know you have a presence there now. And I'm wondering how the challenges faced there are different to those that we see in Europe, and what are the different approaches?
Yes, so there is the natural catastrophes in Asia, and with typhoon and different frequency and different severity, and also different path. There are new paths in the in trajectories of the different events. Asia, you also have a large part of earthquake, which is a different peril, but it's good to mention it because it happens. What we see is also in Asia the very rapid, the quick changes in insured values that you can have from either from 1 year to the other. And so in some market, you have a boom of the economy, which put much more insured value to your portfolios, and it is reported. And so that's a very important component of the risk when you do modelization, nat cat modelization in Asia, for example.
Well, let's move on to the question of a little bit more onto questions around risk prevention, and I want to come on to reinsurance as well. When we're talking about risk prevention, how do you incentivize insurance companies?
To incentivize for risk prevention is something very difficult because you have what we do, in fact, is to measure and to take into account how the state is organized in case of catastrophe. And so prevention measures can be taken at the state level in order to get a global structure, a global framework of how prevention is done within a country. And you have also how the country is organized in case of crisis. And so we leverage that, and we put bonuses or maluses when it is well organized or not well organized. We have seen, and it was during in 2011, for example, the Thai floods have been aggravated due to a potential not so well coordination, which have impacted more the insurance and reinsurance portfolios than it was due to do. And so it's very important. Now, to incentivize the one particular cedant from another particular cedant, it's very difficult. It's more. The only system I see is when it is done through public reinsurance, where in a way there is the hand of the state who wants to make and to force insurance companies to play the right game in terms of prevention with their insureds. But it is very difficult for a commercial private reinsurance company to physically do in terms of the contract to do it with I don't know to give more commissions, for example, in the quota share insurance due to prevention measures or better build back better system. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's tricky.
it's a tricky question.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to a little bit more sure footing because obviously here in Europe we have Solvency II. Could I get your thoughts on how adapted it is, how well adapted it is, particularly to insurance, to natural catastrophe coverage, and how it fits into, if you like, the future trends of the global market?
Uh, yes, Solvency II is now well understood. There has been very clear scenarios and standard scenarios that are delivered to the insurance companies in order to cope with Solvency II, and it has an impact on the reinsurance and on type of reinsurance that they buy. Um, for reinsurance, we still for ArundoRe do work with standard formula ourselves. We think that we could implement an internal model in the future in order to take lots of things into account, which normally should deliver a more appropriate capital requirement. We are not yet in the process of doing it because it has to have a new approach with our main shareholder, SMA BTP, which is specialized more in the construction risk, and so it's clearly something in the agenda in the next 3 years. I would say we think that Solvency II for insurers from our perspective is still adapted, but internal model is something that add more accuracy, and we will probably do that in the next 3 years. Future trends in the global reinsurance market, in terms of Solvency II type of regulation, we see more and more countries that are adapting in their regulation this capital requirement type of Solvency II and the like. So it's something that is global. It has an impact on the way they buy insurance, and sometimes it's create demand for additional layers. There are also more and more IFRS 17 that has an impact, and at the moment we do not fully recognize how it could impact the market, the reinsurance market, in terms of buying process. Probably there will be a need to buy more reinsurance in a way to decrease the volatility in the results. So I think that at the moment the global reinsurance market is questioned about the geopolitics that we see, and we see more and more actions from countries and regulations and laws to protectionism, and it's difficult for reinsurance. By essence, it is free trade, and that's the way reinsurance has been created internationally. So the future and trends on the global reinsurance has to be questioned about these measures that are not welcomed by reinsurers, of course, especially when for us, we operate almost exclusively from Paris with a very centralized model. We do have a local presence in Canada and for MENA markets in Lebanon, but yeah, we think that to operate globally, we prefer, and we really prefer to have a centralized model, and so the protectionism measures are not welcomed by us, especially.
Well, I think that's protectionism is a whole conversation for another day we could discuss for a long time. So a final question then, just to actuaries in general. What would be your one piece of advice to give them to look out for in the future?
I think actuaries have a lot of tasks and possibilities in the future. It's I think that you have, of course, AI that is very important. By essence, there is machine learning and things that use large volume of data and very complex studies done in a very simple way. I think it's something that is a must for actuaries now, and even for all generation of actuaries. For myself, in order to know better, I have taken for 1 year Python lessons in order to understand and to see what is possible to do with that, and it is really remarkable. I also use, and we use LLM inside the company. So this is for coding generation to increase the speed of what we do, but also to be able to increase our use of knowledge management. And when you ask simple questions and with LLM that is also have fine tuning with your own data internally, I think it's very useful, and I think it's very important for actuaries to have that. In terms of climate change, actuaries have a role to play, especially when they add in their abilities the physical part of knowledge that is necessary to understand climate. And so it's not only actuaries as statistical experts, but also as physical experts. And I think it's very important. I believe very much in the risk modelers and actuaries together in order to get a proper model.
Thank you, Laurent. We hear very often when people I'm speaking to, they're always talking about the AI working together with the actuaries, and how actuaries really need to embrace the possibilities rather than see it as a threat. So I think it's a good piece of advice for our readers. Thank you so much for talking to us today.